Hi, my name is Dave Champlin. Biology is the study of all life on Earth. And in this video, I'm going to be representing biology, all life on Earth, as a three-legged table. Making this recording here at the University of Southern Maine in beautiful Portland, Maine, where I've been a professor of molecular biology for almost 25 years. I actually grew up in a little farming town in southern Minnesota where I was outside all the time. I love nature, I love wild environments, and also starting at age 11, I worked on farms and in farm settings. And I love that work so much. I really like mechanical stuff like farm machinery. I like the cause and effect relationships, the physical nature of the machinery and all the work on a farm. I also love how it's a kind of common sense activity. It just makes sense what you're doing on a farm. And in being a molecular biologist, I study the nuts and bolts of life, and I think of myself as a car mechanic of life. And I tell my students that although we all have cars, most of us are not expert car mechanics. I'm certainly not. I rely on the expertise of my great local car mechanics, Stevie and John. But I do tell my students that each one of us knows that when a car doesn't start, no one gets out and checks the tires, right? That's common sense, that everybody knows tires are needed for the car to go, but not for the car to start. And in that same sense, everything in these videos I hope to explain with that sensibility, that physical cause and effect relationship sensibility. And I'm hoping to make these videos to share with everyone the dramatic changes that have occurred during my career in our understanding of life on Earth, biology. And by everyone, I mean everyone in my hometown, and everyone in Maine, and everyone up to the experts that are teaching these same topics as I'm teaching. And so here we go. And if you like this, please hit the like button. And if you want to see more videos, I'll keep making them, but I'll be encouraged if folks subscribe to this YouTube channel. Okay, so what are these three legs? So the first leg is physiology. Physiology really means what it means to be alive. When a cell or an organism, a plant, an animal, a fungus is alive, it has physiology. And when it dies, it loses that physiology. There's chemistry to it. There's also the tissues in an organism. And because of that, I also add anatomy to this leg. And anatomy is the structure in organisms like plants and animals. Let me give you an example of anatomy. So in this leg, we would have the red blood cells in our body. And those red blood cells are carried in our arteries and veins, and so through our anatomy and pumped by our heart, more anatomy and physiology. And those red blood cells, we know, carry oxygen from our lungs to our tissues. And so red blood cells are a great example of this leg. In this leg, I also put the term morphology. Morphology is the overall shape of an organism, like a plant or an animal. And so it's a huge leg. Remember, we're depicting all life on Earth in three legs, right? Just three. And I'm not oversimplifying things at all, and there are no exceptions to this example. The next leg is called development. And most of these videos are going to focus on development because up until about 50 years ago, development was called embryology. Embryology is the study of where did we come from? We weren't here, right? And we arrived. How did that happen? And it was called embryology. It's now called development because of the explosive transformation of our understanding of this leg that's occurred in the last 50 years as a result of new tools that molecular biologists could bring, cell biologists, and other types of scientists could bring to our understanding of this leg. It's dramatic. It's dramatic because it makes a leg that's the same size as this leg. There are a couple of reasons why their name got changed. One was because of the dramatic transformation. Another is because the discoveries are so profound that we no longer limit development to the study of embryos. You know that we were once embryos, then a fetus, then a child, then a teen, growing up to be an adult. At the same time, we're aging. That's our life cycle, and everything on Earth has a life cycle, and that's all part of development. That whole story of how we arrive, grow, and pass away is all part of this big, big leg. These two legs explain everything that ever happens in a plant or animal, a living organism of any kind on our planet. And why two legs? Why do we distinguish them? There's a lot of relationship between them. And so let me just give you a quick example of why these legs are different. They provide really different perspectives. And here's one. We'll just talk about the human eye for a minute. So there's an anatomical drawing of the human eye, and we can think of that leg, what I put the eye over, that leg of physiology and anatomy and morphology, that is the story of the human eye. The human eye is a remarkably complicated and integrally orchestrated tissue for it to function properly. And scientists in that leg made so many discoveries, and not just the human eye, but all kinds of eyes and all kinds of tissues and cells and so forth during the 20th century, that toward the end of the 20th century, plenty of people started to say, you know, that structure seems too complicated to really have evolved. Evolution takes small steps over long periods of time, and each step has to be advantageous for the organism. So how did that evolve? Some people use the term that tissue is irreducibly complex. That means you couldn't simplify it. You can't build that from evolution because you couldn't simplify it. So that's that leg. And in that leg, physiologists and anatomists and morphologists, they have plenty of explanations by describing the eyes of the very diverse eyes of all life on Earth, the eyes of an octopus, the eyes of a clam. They're there in some clams. And they have plenty of explanation for how eyes have evolved on our planet. It takes quite a while to explain it. Let's shift to this other leg and see what this other leg adds. Whoop. So in this other leg, here's the embryology, the embryonic development of the human eye, just a little piece of it. That's what this leg brings. And the human eye develops over 7 weeks in the, mom's tummy, right? So during those 7 weeks, imagine making a time-lapse video. At the end, we have the very complicated physiological, anatomical structure of a human eye. Play the tape backwards. And after 7 weeks of backwards development, there's nothing there. Our eye and every tissue in our body arises from simple nutrients and the DNA information we inherited from our parents. So there's no such thing on our planet as an irreducibly complex tissue because it just wasn't here, right? We weren't here. That's true for every cell, every bacteria. They just weren't here a little while ago, right? And so this leg brings a profoundly significant perspective, which is that the story of life on Earth includes the development of life on Earth. Sean Carroll is a biologist and author, and Sean uses the phrase, the making of the fittest. And that's this leg. And I don't know if Sean coined that term or not, but it's a great shift in that perspective. And in that, I'm going to use another video to describe more about that relationship. And what I'm going to use to describe it is I'm going to use an example of the modern horse's leg. And so this is a zebra, but you know, all modern horses run around on long legs. And they use those to run fast away from predators, and also, as depicted here, kick them really hard, right? So it's a great selective advantage for a horse to have long legs. So we can imagine, you know, the survival of the fittest and the evolution through natural selection of the long-legged horse, right, came about, and it makes sense. It's an old story, and it's well documented, and we'll use another video example of that, the fossil record of that transformation of the short-legged ancestral horse to the modern leg horse and zebra and so forth. So a big part of this story is the development of that horse's leg. That's really what's evolved, right? It's the making, the developing of the fittest physiology. So this second leg provides a real significant contribution. Now, what's the third leg? And so let's get to this third leg. And the third leg is the organism in its environment. So let's use a little different color to put in ecology. And these are the three legs, and I'll give you a great example of why these are just the three legs. And the example is from Darwin. So Darwin wrote about natural selection being the survival of the fittest. And everybody knows that phrase, right? Evolution involves selecting the survival of the fittest. What does that mean? That means survival in the environment. Survival of that zebra, not just hanging around at a zoo, but running around on the plains of Africa, right? It's environment. And survival of the fittest physiology. So Darwin was right on track. Missing from Darwin's insight is this third leg, and we've already foreshadowed that leg is huge. The natural selection process involved changes in the development of the horse's leg. Yeah? Darwin wrote about embryology in The Origin of Species and other writings he did, and he recognized that he didn't know how to fit that into his theory of evolution. That's fine. Darwin is right on track. It's just that when we appreciate that zebra wasn't here, our eyes weren't here, we weren't here, this becomes a tremendously significant part of the story of life on Earth, because lots of evolutionary change is explained in this leg. In fact, this leg is given a special name. Scientists call this Evo-Devo, for the evolution of developmental mechanisms. And really, up until 50 years ago, no one really had a deep appreciation. So Darwin didn't, and other folks didn't. It built up slowly, and then it exploded over the last 50 years. Okay? So speaking of Darwin, what about evolution, right? Lots of people would have said, hey, what are the three legs? And they'd say, well, one leg's got to be evolution. No, the table is evolution. The table is biology. The table is physical. Remember, I'm a car mechanic. This is physical. This is a physical thing. The wood of the table is evolution. Now, what does that mean, right? That is explained by this, and I'll make a video to help explain this. Evolution is a process and a pattern. So we're used to hearing about evolution as a process. Evolution is that natural selection process, the evolution over long periods of time. That change is a process. And again, I'll make a video of this. In the video, I'm going to use in the video an example of a snake crawling across the desert sand at night. The snake is the process, the actual crawling process, and that gets done at night when we're not there. We can come by in the day and we can see that pattern. And over time, we could learn, our tribe could learn, maybe our grandmother would teach us that watch for these marks in the sand. They're a pattern that's different than the wind makes. And we don't know too much about the snake. It crawled through in the night. But if we follow that pattern in that direction, it'll lead us to water, right? That would be good desert wisdom, right? To follow the marks that animals make in the night because they're heading toward water. And it would save our lives. Understanding that pattern and following that pattern would save our lives. And the same is true for the story of evolution. Evolution is both a process and a pattern. And that's what the table depicts, is everything on Earth. Everything on Earth fits this pattern. I tell my students you can also think of evolution as like a, let me get another color in here just to try to provide a little different picture. We'll pick white. Evolution can be depicted like a coin, a two-sided coin. And that's evolution also. And evolution can be depicted on one side as showing all of the similarities in life. And for a molecular biologist at that molecular level, the similarities are tremendous. All life on Earth is made of cells. All those cells have cell membranes made primarily of phospholipids. In that cell, every living cell on our planet uses DNA as the primary heritable molecule. The three prominent macromolecules in every cell on Earth are DNA, RNA, and proteins. So there's tremendous similarities on this side of the coin. Evolution as a pattern also explains all the differences, all the diversity on our planet. DNA is a big part of this, and that's one of the main reasons why this all exploded. And as a molecular biologist, DNA is in my wheelhouse. And so again, I'll explain this term more, but it's the pattern that biologists are fascinated by. When scientists collect data, any scientist in any field collects data, they use that data to try to see a pattern. And in life on Earth, all the biological data points to a pattern that can be interpreted as having a process of evolution occurring over a long time, producing this pattern. There are really no surprises in biology. Chemistry and physics are a little bit different. They do have foundational principles, right? But in physics, we run into quantum mechanics, and it's like, what is that about? Well, in biology, and in biology that is the work that really is getting done, it all fits into this pattern, and that scientists have used that pattern to make discoveries that, like the tribe in the desert following that snake trail, just like that, in the most common sense, physical, matter-of-fact, cause and effect way, the study of biology following that pattern has led to discoveries that have saved each of our lives a whole bunch of times. Yeah, just like the tribe following the snake trail to the water. It's an old-time strategy, right? And it's just played out today by having thousands of scientists working together on it. So again, we'll pause here, and I'll make some more of these videos. If you like them, please like them, and you subscribe to just encourage me to make more. That would be great, all right? And thanks for watching.